Hello. In this video, I'd like to talk to you about imagination. Imagination, of course, in relation to the way, the way of Christ, the way of Sophia. So, imagination, what is it? We all know it, don't we? At least we think we know it. We think we know what it is. We also think that it's very much related to our thinking. I mean, some people will say, some thinkers will say, some philosophers or say cognitive scientists or so on will say that thinking and imagination, there's no real difference. There is a real difference, certainly when it comes to the practice of the way. You need actually to know the difference between thinking and imagination if you're a sort of a dedicated practitioner of the way of Christ. So what is it? You will get to understand imagination in relation to the way only, I would say, only if you practice meditation. And I've gone into this in other parts of my website here and in other blogs and so on, that the practice of meditation is really crucial to the practice of the way. And I make the distinction that is sort of different than, say, just practicing your religion in the normal way, shall we say, which includes prayer. And I've made this very basic, I always make this very basic distinction between prayer and meditation. And there are other videos and other blogs where you can suss this out as well. So if I say that meditation helps you develop your your imagination, I of course immediately will have to add to that it depends on what you're meditating on. So you need, once you sort of begin to meditate and sort of, shall I say, begin to know a little bit more about imagination, because as I say, you will develop your imagination, you will know a bit more about imagination once you develop it in true meditation. You will find that that imagination is a bit of a wild beast. I will put it like that very bluntly at the beginning here. It's a bit of a wild beast. Maybe a better analogy or picture, a better picture might be a wild garden, because the imagination is wonderful. Let's not, generally the imagination is great. It's one of our best faculties, I would say. And in many ways, it sort of trumps thinking once you really know what it is. But it has lots of dangers if you do not sort of, what I would call, educate your imagination or train it in a certain way. And of course, the way I am talking about is the way of Sophia. Sophia is a wonderful help in developing and training and educating your imagination. That's really what she does. So when you practice the way, you will be practicing certain types of meditation. You're not going to be meditating on anything bland or trivial or bad, shall we say. It has to be a good thing you meditate on. So when you take up the practice of the way of Sophia, you will be very much drawn to the wisdom books of the Old Testament. In fact, really it's the wisdom books of the Old Testament that are our best knowledge of Sophia in the Judeo-Christian world comes from. If you take, for instance, in your meditation, if you take a verse from one of the wisdom books, and I'll just use an example here of the book of Sirach, which is in the Catholic Bible. It's not in the other Bibles, I think. But it's included, it's also called Ecclesiasticus, not Ecclesiastes, but Ecclesiasticus. and it's included, as I say, in the Catholic Bible, and it's one of the really most beautiful books, really, of the wisdom books, and it should be better known, really. So as a meditation, then, if you take, say, a verse from this book, and I'm going to read it from chapter 4:11, and it's headed "The Rewards of Wisdom." Sophia, of course, is the wisdom of God. That's who the writer is talking about here. So, quote, "Wisdom teaches her children and gives help to those who seek her. Whoever loves her loves life, and those who seek her from early morning are filled with joy." Now that's a lovely verse to meditate on if you want to develop your imagination. As I say, you need to educate your imagination, otherwise it might lead you astray. So you take good verses and so on, good things to meditate on. Now, when you meditate, inevitably, if you're a serious meditator, you will find that Sophia will draw nearer to you. It sort of goes without saying if you think about it. She will draw nearer to you. And everybody will experience her in their own sort of personal way. It's similar with Christ. Christ is we really have to develop very personal relationships with Christ and Sophia. And we're talking about very personal divinities here, like the persons of the Trinity. Christ is known as one of the three persons. So each of our experiences, our own experiences, will be quite personal. And because of that, it can be one can be quite easily led astray. So therefore, and this is another reason why you should practice meditation, because practicing meditation is also practicing concentration. They are very closely related. So if you practice concentration, you are developing a very strong and clear and pure thinking, so that whatever experiences you may have as you meditate on the path, developing your relationship with Sophia, when your meditation is over and you come back, as it were, to your normal life, your day-to-day life, and for a while, then it's always important, especially if you've had some fairly strong experience, to think about it as clearly as you can, and not to let your imagination be drawn too much in one way or the other. In fact, it might be better if you're sort of new to meditation to simply let these experiences sit in your mind, and then over a number of days, or especially during your sleep, you'll be able to sort of process these experiences. And overall, therefore, I would say, when you practice meditation, you trying to bring a balance into your mind between thinking and imagination. You've got to work on the two of them. Imagination is very much to do with your heart, you could even say with your heart thinking. And that is, in a sense, is what imagination is. It's heart, it's feeling thinking. You've got to bring that into balance with your head thinking, I would call your logos thinking. So this is the Christ element. Yeah. The word logos, Christ is known as the logos. And the word the word logic comes from logos. So you've got to sort of think as logically as you can, as clearly as you can about your experiences. Then you'll be bringing Christ into your imagination and developing this all-important balance that we seek in life generally, but especially when we take up the practice of the way. So therefore, your thinking and your feeling, your head and your heart, you must learn to bring these, they must go hand in hand. You must learn to bring them into a nice balance. So when I talk about bringing them into hand in hand, I'm sort of, might guess I'm going into a whole different area, which I don't want to deal with here. we're going into the whole area there of the will, which is another really part of the whole process of the development of the soul, and purifying your whole soul being as you practice this wonderful practice of the way. So that's all I wanted to say about imagination today in this video. So keep watching and tell your friends, and bye bye.